This story was told to me by a friend. To avoid revealing her real names, let's call her Vika. She was about 6 years old at the time. She lived with her family in a one-room apartment on the 8th floor of a battered Khrushchev building in a small village in the Novosibirsk region, surrounded by taiga and swamps, and it took about 4 hours to drive to the nearest town along a battered road. Her parents often went on night shifts, and Vika was left at home with her older sister. She was 10 years older, and she was not at all enthusiastic about the idea of regularly sitting with the youngest. She wanted to go out, chat with friends, and do the usual teenage things, not just that. Of course, she told her parents that she didn't want to be a babysitter, but they didn't listen to her and didn't take her seriously. The adults were always saying the same thing. It's time for you to grow up. Grandma nursed 4 children at your age, but you can't handle one sister. We're not leaving Vika alone. If I stay, will you earn money for your family? Powerless to go against her parents' will, she took out her anger on little Vika. Sometimes she just bullied and tortured her. She locked it in a cramped dark drawer for storing bed linen in a folding bed, and sat on top so that the poor girl could not get out of there. She locked her in a room alone when her friends came to her, threatening to turn off the lights in the room if she made noise, and did many other terrible things. One day, her parents once again left for the night shift, leaving Vika alone with her sadistic sister. It happened in the late winter evening, on a full moon. The nurse laid the girl on a narrow sofa bed and ordered her to close her eyes. Vika told her sister that she couldn't sleep because she was scared. For several weeks now, she felt like she was being watched by some big scary bird. The sister replied that it was a forest owl. A very scary and evil owl that eats little girls. For this reason, the girl is not allowed to make noise, get out of bed, or even move. In a creepy, oppressive voice, her sister whispered in her ear, "The owl is watching you. So closely watching. If she realizes that you are awake, she will drag you to her nest. And there, she will do something very scary to you. So keep your eyes closed and don't move." After these words, the sister ran out of the room and turned off the light. The sound of a door slamming came from the hallway. In the silence, interrupted only by the howling of the wind outside, the girl heard the creak of an old window opening. Little Vika was lying on the bed with her eyes closed and shaking with fear. After a quiet creak, the sound of the wind became louder, and a quiet, intermittent, slightly whistling breathing could be heard overhead. My sister had left a long time ago, and my anxiety was only getting stronger and stronger. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, but the girl was afraid to even sob too loudly. Unable to overcome the growing desire to open her eyes to see that none of this was true, and her sister was just insulting her again, Vika carefully, barely, so that you would never notice from the outside, opened her eyes. She saw the dim moonlight seeping through the slightly open window, swaying slightly in the wind. There was also a shadow that covered her from head to toe, extremely reminiscent of a huge feathered silhouette. Petrified with horror, Vika struggled for several minutes not to scream and burst into tears out loud. Struggling with her fears, she was able to carefully examine the crooked shadow of the silhouette. This figure was very big and disheveled. Sharp, broken feathers stuck out in all directions, resembling curved knives. Lifting her head, trying to do it unnoticeably, as if she was just tossing and turning in her sleep, Vika saw the owl above her. A gigantic, night-black bird loomed directly over her, sitting on the headboard of the bed, and leaning so close to the girl that she could only see the terrifying owl's face. The feathers were black, as if they had fallen into absolute darkness, and they stood out in all directions. The night monster's eyes shone brightly with yellowish moonlight. The owl, with a barely perceptible rustle that Vika naively mistook for the sounds of curtains fluttering in the wind, turned its head, staring intently at the girl with one or the other huge yellow eye. Closing her eyes tightly, Vika tried to control her breathing and not move. She listened impotently to the creaks and whistles of the overhanging carcass, the rustle of stiff black feathers, the creak of a headboard unaccustomed to such a load. Suddenly, the girl jumped when she heard a loud flapping of wings. The next moment, the roar of the wind became painfully loud. The loud bang almost made her jump out of bed. Opening her eyes, and clutching the bed until her fingers turned white, Vika stared in horror at the slammed window. There was no one else in the room. She couldn't sleep that night, so she pulled the curtains shut and watched the window from her bed until dawn. In the morning, her parents returned, and she ran in tears to tell them about what had happened. The parents hugged and comforted their poor daughter. This nightmare was finally over. Until Mom asked, "And where?" "Your sister." Her parents promised that when her sister returned from a walk, they would punish her very much, but even by the evening of that day, her sister had not returned home. And the next one, too. Of course, the parents filed a missing persons report with the police, but they couldn't find any trace. They were told at the station that she had apparently decided to run away from home, and they shouldn't worry. Vika's parents and the police ran around the village for a long time, asking if anyone had seen her that evening, but in vain. Neither the villagers who decided to help with the search, nor even the check that came from the city, found any evidence. 2 months later, the investigation period expired, and not a single clue was found about where the girl had disappeared. A year later, she was declared missing, and Vika's parents sold the apartment, took out a loan, and moved to the nearest city, unable to continue living in the ill-fated apartment where everything happened. A lot of water has flowed since then, but the matured Vika still tightly closes the doors and windows in the room in which she sleeps every time. And to this day, sometimes, in the light of the full moon, she sees the silhouette of an owl peering through her window with its large luminous eyes, or appearing on the periphery of vision on dark nights. Wherever she is,